I was born up north in Japan in a town called Hachinohe, but I just tell like everybody I was born in Tokyo because that's really all people know. So I was born in Japan, pretty much raised in Japan. After, I think when I was like 5, we moved from Japan to England because my dad's in the military. So we've moved around a lot. And then when I was 13, so I did my growing up from 5 to like 12 to 13 in England. And then we moved back to Japan. And I did my growing from 13 to 18 in Japan again. And then lived stateside for the first time when I was 18. My dad was a wrestler in high school, and my mom was always like, she told me she was always a tomboy when she was younger, and she always wanted to do martial arts. But in Japan, because my mom's Japanese, in Japan it was just so expensive, and so her parents never let her do it. But then, when they got married and stuff, they just got into like the UFC. They started getting into watching the UFC and Strikeforce at the time, and they came across like fighters like Gina Carano, Ronda Rousey, and Cyborg, and I was watching those girls, and I was like, I was literally training Muay Thai, judo, and jiu-jitsu at the time. And when I saw women doing MMA, and when I came across MMA, I was like, wait, that's everything that I do, just like put together, So me and my dad really wanted me to do it and was like, Shino, you could really be good at this. You've been doing it for so long, and I don't know, it just kind of happened that way. I was young. I was in high school. I went pro at 16 in Japan, and then, but I was fighting like amateur Muay Thai, or doing jiu-jitsu tournaments and stuff like that beforehand. And then I had like one amateur MMA fight, I think. And then I just went pro because nobody wanted to fight the 16-year-old, amateur. And at the time, women's MMA was so new still. Um, that was like 8 years ago. So women's MMA was still so brand new. I don't think Invicta was even a promotion when I went pro. So I think it was like just a new promotion or something like that. So I just didn't have very many opponents right off the bat, and so I kind of was forced to go pro pretty quick, and here I am, 24, and my opponents were like 35 or whatever, so they were like 20 years older than me, which was crazy to think about now if you like say it out loud like that, but no, it wasn't. I don't think it was intimidating for me necessarily, just because I had already been doing jiu-jitsu tournaments, and I had already been doing judo tournaments, and I think I had a couple Muay Thai fights as an amateur by then. So I don't think the concept of like fighting was any different, or intimidating. I've always competed my whole life, but I think what the scariest part was just, I think the pressure that I got put on me, because I was so young. They used to call me the high school prodigy, and I think I felt like and being 16, being a 16-year-old girl, I cared about what everybody thought of, me and how I performed and stuff like that. So I think I kind of put a lot of pressure on myself back then, but as I get older, I kind of start learning, like, who cares? I'm not doing this for anybody, so I'm learning. I mean, with quarantine, I think all fighters and when they're going to fight is kind of up in the air, but before the whole quarantine thing, I wanted to get back in there before my birthday, which is June. I wanted to have one more fight at 24, and my PT told me, like, as long as we're strengthening my knee and, getting that fixed up and everything, it should be a pretty good time to like get in there around May. But I don't know, with all this quarantine thing, as soon as it gives me extra time to kind of strengthen my knee and everything, so probably as soon as quarantine's up and once they start having shows again, I want to be right in there, So IG is at Shino VanHoose. Twitter is at Shino_VanHoose. And that's about it. Those are like the only two major social medias that I use. So give me a follow.